So yesterday we had talked about the various ways in which you can be identifying the elements on a web page. Okay, you can use XPaths, you can use IDs, names, CSS selectors. Although I did not cover all of them, that how do you use ID, how do you use CSS selectors and all. I'll be covering all of them gradually as we proceed with the course with various examples and all. Fine. We'll be doing a lot of practical examples and other things. Yeah, Ashwini, I think you want to ask some question. You can feel free to ask. Somebody raised the hand. Fine. So if you have any questions, you can either unmute yourself by clicking on the red icon, and then you can mute yourself. Okay. So let's what we'll do is we will now move a little bit further. Okay. And we also saw that how to execute it on different browsers. I just took this browser name and I just changed it. Right. Now this was a very simple example. Okay. The example was that all you need to do is that go to gmail.com, enter your email ID and password, and you simply log in. Okay. Now various questions arise over here. Various questions you might be having in your mind. That is, what if you are finding an element by an ID, okay, and there are multiple elements on the page with same ID, what will happen, right? If you look at the find element function, if you look at what this does, right, find element function, it finds the first web element using the given method. That is, if there are 5 web elements with the ID email, it will find the first one. What do you mean by the first one? When Selenium scans the page, it scans from the top left to the bottom right. It starts like this. Okay. So if there are multiple elements with the same ID, one is out here, one is out here, one is out here, Selenium will pick this one. But what if you need to pick, say, this one or this one? For that also we have got various functions. Okay, so I'll be talking about all of them. We'll be going slowly with this course. Look, being testers, I'll again repeat, you might be wondering that how do I test it? This is not testing. This is just going through one page to another page. Yes, exactly. Look, I don't start with the testing process directly because important thing is learn Selenium. You can start with the testing process easily. You can, all you need to know is about the TestNG or the JUnit framework, which also I'll be talking about today, right? So just hold on, just acquire some technical skills for Selenium, and then we can actually generate reports, do the testing, parameterize the test cases and all everything. Okay. Now we will move forward. I'll create a new project called as day 4. Okay. I'll go to property and in Java build path I'll add the external Java. Ashwini, I hope you are able to hear me now. Fine. So I'm adding the jar files. Right. Right. Now, suppose I simply make a new class called sample.java. Okay. I request you to please keep yourself on mute. Right. There is a recording going on over here, and if you have to talk, you can just unmute yourself and talk. Right. So out here you have sample.java. Right. Now suppose if I write new Firefox driver. Okay, if you hit Control Shift O of your keyboard, right, all the imports will directly happen. Okay, the shortcut is Control Shift O. This import will automatically come up. Right, now in this, if I open my Firefox, you will see that in Firefox we have got Firebug installed, right? You will see that under bookmarks you will have certain set of bookmarks which are yours. Fine, but if I run this thing with Selenium, what will happen is that the Firefox which opens, you will realize that Firefox has got nothing in it. That has got no bookmarks. See that? That hasn't got any Firebug in it, right? So why is it like that? Why is this Firefox different than the Firefox which is there in my machine? Fine. So my simple question to everybody is, do you guys know the concept of Firefox profiling? Do you guys know the concept of Firefox profiling? Anybody, like, is there? Okay, no. Fine. So, alright. Okay, don't worry. I'll tell you. What is Firefox profiling basically? It is something like, suppose myself and my colleague, we both are sharing one system. Okay. Now this concept, first of all, profiling concept is only available in Firefox, not in IE and Chrome. Okay. Now myself and my colleague, they are sharing the same system, and my colleague wants that when he opens up Firefox, he should see his set of bookmarks, his set of add-ons, his set of settings in Firefox. And I want that when I open my Firefox, I should see my set of settings, my set of bookmarks, everything in Firefox. Okay. Now this thing is doing this thing is through a process. We do this thing through a process called Firefox profiling. We create Firefox profiles on PC. Each profile is different than another, and they can be used by multiple people. How do we do that, and what is it practically? We will see that right now. Okay. If I open up Firefox, and to create the profile, the first step is close Firefox from File Exit menu, not from the cross menu on the top. Okay, you close it from File Exit menu, and then go to Run and type command firefox.exe -p profile manager. Okay, so if you click on OK now, I'll give this command to everybody. Here is the command. Okay, now these are the two Firefox profiles on my system. For example, if I click on default, then my regular Firefox will open, having the Firebug in it, having this bookmark in it, and all everything. Okay. Again, I close it from File Exit. I go to Run and I open this manager. Now I can create a new profile as well. I'll create a new profile called Selenium. I'm sorry, guys. Right. I'll create a new profile called Selenium. Finish. So what will I have is out here, I'll have a new profile altogether, and if I select this and click on Start Firefox, what will happen is that the Firefox window will start, but that window will be like a fresh Firefox. Okay, so this means that if I close this window here, right, and when I open my regular Firefox now, only that particular Selenium profile will open. Okay, the default profile has gone into sleep. If I want to switch back to default profile, then I will have to close it from File Exit and go to this again and open the default profile from here. See that bookmark, Firebug and all, everything is there. Now, when Selenium works, when Selenium opens the Firefox, right, it opens Firefox in a new profile. Okay, always it creates a new profile with the help of internal coding. It creates new profile and destroys that profile when testing is over. Now suppose you have a scenario where you want Firefox to be present in the Firebug to be present in the browser in which the testing is actually taking place, right? You don't want that you should be using Firebug on a different browser, but testing browser Firebug is not present. This should not be there, because there are times when your test fails, suppose because of your error, because of the error in script, and you want to investigate in the page. You want to see the objects which are coming in real time and all, and you want to investigate. So at that time you might need Firebug in your Firefox. Again, to do proxy based testing, to do HTTPS sets testings, right? We actually use that. Okay. Question is, what is a native method? Does it have anything to do with Profile Manager? No, that has got nothing to do with Profile Manager. Native methods mean methods which are dependent on Windows, your Windows machine. Okay, for example, moving the mouse, it's a native event. Okay, Window can move your mouse. Okay, so these are known as native events which are related to your Windows. There are some Windows as well. So we will be studying native events as well. For example, in Selenium, if you want to move your mouse over a menu bar so that it expands, how do we do that? So that will come up at some later stage, right? We are just at the basics. Fine. Now, if I am writing this new Firefox driver, it is starting a fresh Firefox profile. Now, at times we have to test HTTPS websites wherein you get certificate errors and all everything. So for that again you use the Firefox profiling concept, right? So now let's move on. Let's move further, and I'll tell you how to open. For example, I want to tell Selenium that fine, don't open your own profile, go and open the profile called Selenium. Okay, I want to instruct Selenium to open this particular profile which I have created in my system. Suppose in this profile I bookmark the Google site, right? In this particular profile I will go and bookmark the Google page, right? And along with that, say I also install Firebug in it. Right. Now I want Selenium to open this particular profile because it has got Firebug in it. Maybe you can do some other proxy settings as well if your test case demands, right? Lately I had tested some iPhone apps and all on the browser, so I actually ended up creating a lot of profiles and customizing the browser like anything. Okay, how do you customize the file? What is the actual meaning of this? Why do we need this? Actually, the thing is, in Firefox, right, if you go here and just type about :config, hit enter, and then you say that you promise that you will be careful, right? You will get all these settings. These are Firefox settings. You can change Firefox, you can change anything in these settings. You can do anything with the Firefox. Even you can destroy the browser if you want on your machine through these settings. Okay, so there are times when you need to change these, right? And one of the settings and all, and you have to create your own profile in that case, right? Okay, now how do I instruct Selenium that go and open the profile called Selenium? That's the question out here. Because if I run it like this, it will create its own profile and launch it. To understand that, you need to understand the concept of constructors in in Java. Okay, So I'll just go back to Java and explain you what constructors are. If I create a new class and I name that class as country.java, okay, and I create a new class again and I call it test country.java. Fine. In country.java, suppose I have these properties: int population, string name. Fine. These are the two properties in this class. And suppose in test country.java, I create the object of country C1 equals to new country. C2 and C3. So I have created three objects of the country class: C1, C2 and C3. Okay. Now if I write over here C1 dot name is country A, right? C1 dot population is 100. Similarly, C2 dot name is country B, and C2 dot population is 200. Fine. Okay. Now similarly, if you initialize C3 as well, okay, so you have got three objects: C1, C2 and C3. Each has a name and a population. But suppose instead of name, along with name and population, there are 10 other properties in this class: name, population, number of states, and the language spoken and everything, all these properties. Now, if that happens, will you initialize each and every object like this? This will consume a lot of time. Suppose if I have to make 50 objects, 50 objects of that class. Okay, so for solving this kind of problem, you have a constructor. What this constructor does is, constructor initializes the object, fine, and along with that, it actually it makes an object, and along with that, it initializes the object as well. Guys, I'll be back in 2 minutes. Just so constructor, it will make an object, along with that it will initialize the object. Fine. How do we do that basically? I'll just tell you. If I go to the country class and make a constructor here, what it does, it initializes, it creates and initializes objects. Simultaneously. Out here in this test country, I was creating the object here and I was initializing it out here. Okay, so constructor, it creates and initializes everything in one go. You can create a constructor by writing like this: public country. This becomes your constructor. The name of the constructor is same as the name of the class. It's got no return type. Okay, if I give a different name, I will get an error. Right? So name of the constructor is same as name of the class. And suppose in this constructor I write system.out.println creating object. If I go to my test country, if I run the code, it will print creating object 3 times. Whenever I write new country, whenever I create the object of the country, creating objects prints over here. Fine. Suppose if I write again, if I write over here new country, I run this code, creating object will be printed 4 times. So that means that constructor is called as many times as you create the object. So I can actually create another constructor over here called public country, which accepts the name and population. This constructor this country constructor accepts nothing, but this country constructor accepts a name and a population. And in this I can write name equals to n, population equals to p, right? And when you create the object, you create it like this now. Suppose I write country C4 equals to new country. Along with it, you pass the name of the country and the population. So what happens is that on the fly this object will be created. It will be created and initialized itself. Similarly, country C5 equals to new country, and you can give the name E and population. So this way you create the object and initialize them in one go. Okay, it saves writing like this. Okay, and this type of concept, that is the same name of the constructor and but different input parameters, is known as overloading, constructor overloading. I can also write like this, that another constructor which just takes the name, right? So these are the three variants of this function. This concept is known as overloading. Okay, so there are various types of overloading. This is constructor overloading. You can have, I'm just telling you because sometimes in an interview people might ask you, okay, this is the constructor overloading, and this, if you write like public void a function like say drive. So this is one function, and I can also create another function. This is not a constructor, it's a regular function in the class. I can write public void drive int kilometers. So these are the two variants of this function. One accepts no parameter, other accepts the kilometers you want to drive in the country. Fine. Now this is again known as function overloading. That is same name but different input parameters. And this is again constructor overloading. Three types of constructors out here. Okay, so you have a country.java out here, through which I explained you what a constructor is. Now the same way what we do is that in Selenium, if I go here, right, we have a class called as what I need to do, again I'll repeat the requirement. I want to open up a specific profile in my PC, that is Selenium profile. So there is a class known as profiles ini in Selenium. I create the object of that class. Right, you hit Control Shift O of your keyboard, everything is imported. Right, now this class, it represents all the Firefox profiles which are there on your PC. Okay, profiles ini class represents all the profiles, all the Firefox profiles which are there in your PC. So if you write like this and you write all profiles dot get the profile Selenium, so this will get you the Selenium profiles. Everything is inbuilt, you don't really have to worry how this will get. Okay, and there is a class called Firefox profile inside Selenium. This function get profile returns you the object of that class. Okay, it gives you back get profile, it gives you back the object of Firefox profile class. So all you need to do is that when you initialize your driver now, Firefox driver, right, you send this profile object in its constructor. Okay, just like we were sending the name of the car in the constructor, name of the country and population of the country in constructor. Out here you can also send the object, that is the profile, Firefox profile object in the constructor of Firefox driver. So when you run this, it will open up Firefox and it will open up the Selenium profile. See, Firebug is there inside this Firefox. It has a bookmark Google, right? So I am able to open up the specific profile which I wanted, and I can work with it regularly. I can write Firefox profile.get say http bbc.com. Fine. So if you run this, this will actually open up Firefox. It will get the profile and it will open a BBC. Now what's the advantage? Advantage is that if some error comes on the script, I can instantly look into the elements. Now this kind of profiling feature is not there in Chrome or IE. They will open regular browsers. Chrome will open regular browsers and all everything. And moreover, opening a new Firefox profile every time, it also clears the cache and cookie. This clears the cache and cookies of your browsers and you can work with them. Okay. So this is what Firefox profiling is. We will be using that later on. We will be using this later on in the course. So please be a little careful and please revise this stuff. Okay, fine. Now we have learned a little bit of Java, we have learned a little bit of Selenium, we have learned a little bit of profiling things and all, everything we have learned. Okay, we have a fair knowledge about everything, right? Now suppose I want to implement test case. How do I start with it? I can simply go to any website, I can browse it a little bit, I can click on elements using XPath and all. Fine. I'll come over to other identifiers as well, XPath, CSS locators and all, everything. I'll come back to them. Fine. But what if I have a scenario where I need to generate reports, I need to actually implement the test cases. So how do I do that? So for that we use the JUnit or the TestNG framework. I'll show you both the frameworks and you will realize that both of them are same. The names are different, but the internal commands in both are almost same. Okay, if you create a new project, I'll just create a new project called the JUnit framework. Okay, and I'll also create a new project called TestNG framework. I recommend people to go with TestNG, right? Because this is right to be used with Selenium WebDriver. Actually, grid and all, whatever example is there on the Selenium website, everything is there with TestNG. Actually, TestNG is the reportings are also better. That's what I feel personally. If you ask me to use a framework, I use TestNG. It is easy and it is actually better. Fine. So I use these two frameworks. Now, what is a framework? It's like it's a technique to implement your test cases. Fine, to run them in batch, to generate reports, logs and all everything. Okay. Now out here, let's take an example of JUnit. Okay. JUnit framework, it is inbuilt inside Eclipse. Okay, you don't have to get it into Eclipse, it is inbuilt. All you need to do is that I'll just take up an Excel file. Hold on. Okay, right. Now I'll just write it over here. TestNG JUnit. Okay, and what I'll do is I will give them headings. Right. Now, JUnit, it is actually inside Eclipse. You just have to configure it inside. TestNG you have to install separately. Okay. This is the first difference between both of them. Both are testing frameworks, right? Both will test your applications, help you implement test cases and all. But JUnit, if you go to your project, fine. If you right click on your project, you go to the properties of your project. Okay, go to the properties of the project and go to the library section. Out here you will see that you will get a link, add library, this thing, this button. Okay, if you click on this, you will get all these libraries. Out of them you can install the JUnit library in your current project. You can add the library JUnit in your current project. Click on next and select the latest version of JUnit. Don't select JUnit 3. Okay, select JUnit 4 and click on finish and OK. What you will see that JUnit 4 has come up in the project. So now you can start using JUnit with this project. I'll just create a dummy test case for you, right? In this source folder, fine, I'll create a new package called test cases. What is a package? Package is something like a folder inside a source folder. Packages will help you to organize the code. If I am making 1000 Java files, I just cannot keep them all in the source folder. So I make packages and I organize my code with the help of packages. It's like a source folder inside the source folder. Okay. Inside the test cases package, I'll create a new class called, say, simple login test. Okay, a simple test like login test with no main function. In JUnit there is no main function. Okay, there is no main function in JUnit. Right, and all you need to do is that you need to use annotations. You have to use an annotation called @test and write public void do login test. Okay, so what happens is that you will get an error over this annotation. You move your mouse over the error and you will see the option import test org.junit. So as soon as you import it, error will go away. What is this @test? This symbolizes that this is my test case. Okay, this function is my test case. Inside this you can write your WebDriver code. Okay, suppose if I write over here system.out.println executing login test. There is no main function out here. Okay, and if I right click on login test.java and I select run as JUnit test, Eclipse JUnit launcher, you will get a window on the left hand side. This green bar represents the test passed. This is the test case, do login. Green signifies it passed. Okay, if it fails, then you get a failure trace over here in the bottom section out here. Okay, and this is the password information out here. Okay, there is no HTML report which is generated right now. Okay, so basically what I did, I configured JUnit in the current project, right? And I made a login test.java inside a package called test cases. Fine, and I implemented the test. Now similarly, I want to implement the login test using TestNG framework. Look, this framework has got nothing to do with Selenium. It generates reports, it will give you the output and all. You have to integrate Selenium in this test annotation function by writing the WebDriver code. Okay. How can I run it without main function? You have to run it without main function by right clicking on it and selecting run as JUnit test. You will get this option. Once you configure JUnit in your project, you will get this option. Okay, you have to run it, right click, run as JUnit test. Fine. Or if you click on this drop list, you will have this option over here, or run as JUnit over here as well. Okay, if you click on this small drop down arrow. Fine. Now, suppose the same thing I want to do with TestNG. Exactly, the procedure is exactly same. Only thing is, if you go to your project properties and go to add library, you will not see TestNG over here. In my case, I am able to see because I have installed TestNG separately in Eclipse. But in your machines, you will not be able to see. Okay. Now to implement the same thing in TestNG, right? You need to you need to install TestNG framework in Eclipse. To install TestNG framework, all you need to do is that you need to just go to Google and type TestNG Eclipse. Go to this link and there will be an option called install the plugin. You go ahead, and I hope everybody will be having 3.4 and above. So this is the URL. I'll give this URL to everybody. You copy this particular URL, go to Eclipse, go to help, install new software option in Eclipse. After copying the URL, go to this. You in this section over here, work with section, you paste the URL and don't forget to hit enter of your keyboard. People forget. After pasting the URL, hit enter. You will get TestNG option over here. Select it. Click next, 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 next. Your Eclipse will restart and it will be installed. Maybe you might get a small warning or error in between. Just ignore that and continue. It will install fine. Right? So once you install it, right, if you go to Window, Show View, and if you go to Other, and under Java you will have the option TestNG. Right, that means it is installed successfully. JUnit is predefined in Eclipse. You have to install TestNG separately by copying that particular URL, going to help, install new software option over here. Okay, now if you have installed TestNG, now I will use TestNG in this TestNG framework. In this source folder, I'll again create a new package called test cases, right? And then I will create a new class called login test again. Now in this is my login test for TestNG. In TestNG as well, we have the same annotation. You write @test public void do login. Okay. Now if you move your mouse over the error, first select the option add the TestNG library to the project. Select this option, add the TestNG. So if you click this, you will see that the TestNG library has come up over here and the JUnit library was there in the previous project. Okay, in the previous project we have the JUnit library, now we have the TestNG library. Now you again move your mouse over the thing and select import test org.testng.annotations. That's it. So this annotation symbolizes that it's a TestNG test case, right? The annotation name is same, but the frameworks are different. One is TestNG, one is JUnit. Okay, and if you print system.out.println, say sample login test. If I run this TestNG test case, right click on it, run as select TestNG, the test. There is no main function in this again. There is no main function. We have to run it as TestNG test in console. Out here in the bottom, in console you will have an output like this. Total test runs were 1, failures were 0, skips were 0, and there will be a tab called results of running the login test. This tab gets into your Eclipse once you install TestNG. So if you click on this tab, you will get the results that the do login test is passing. Green means it is passing. Had it been failing, I would have got the failure trace over here. Fine. Now if I refresh my TestNG framework, now this is the difference. If I refresh it, I will have a test output folder with automatically generated reports as well. If I open index.html out here, if I open it in, say, a browser, these are my TestNG reports. There was one method, one passed, click on show, the do login function is passing. It is again not a very user-friendly report. Okay, we will see how to generate user-friendly reports later on when we do advanced frameworks like hybrid or the data-driven. We will actually see the TestNG XSLT reports. If you are using TestNG, we will see these kinds of reports. These are graphical reports with pie charts and all, everything like this, something like this. Okay, we will see how to build these reports as well. So now, and this is basically about TestNG. So again, the difference is that actually, if you talk about, both of them have got no main functions. Both of them have @test annotation. It's taking it as a macro. Test annotation is present in both of them, and reports, no default HTML reports. In JUnit, HTML reports are generated with the tool called ANT. We will be talking about ANT, fine, not right now, okay, but it has got default reports as well, fine. So if you have to generate HTML reports with JUnit, you have to use ANT. ANT is something which helps you to run your program through command prompt, okay. When we run it through ANT, JUnit will generate the reports, HTML reports. Fine. And now let's move further. Okay. So we have got both the test cases in one login test in JUnit, one login test in TestNG. Fine. Now in the JUnit one, I'm not actually teaching you both of them, I'm just telling you both of them are similar. Even if you learn one of them, it's easy to pick up the other one. It's not a big deal, it's not a rocket science that if you have learned TestNG, you cannot pick up JUnit. It's not like that. Okay. In JUnit, if I suppose I have to compare two things. Suppose I have how do we do the testing? We compare the actual value and the expected value, right? Suppose in JUnit I have the actual title of the page. Say the title of the page is T1. Fine. How will you get the title of the page? Through WebDriver. The actual value is always retrieved from the application, and WebDriver it talks to the application. So the actual value is here and expected value. say there is an expected title called T2. Fine. And you need to compare both actual and expected titles and report them in the reports, right? So how do we do that? So to do that, there is a class called assert in JUnit. If you write assert dot, all the functions in this class are static. Okay, so you can access all the functions with the help of assert dot command. Okay, so you can write assert dot. If I write over here, there is a function called assert equals. This function expects you pass over the expected value first and the actual value after that. To call this function, make sure you send the expected value and the actual value, and this function will compare both the values, right? It asserts if the two strings are equal or not, and if they are not equal, for example, suppose T1 and T1 are equal, actual and expected values are equal, so it will pass the test case. If I run the login test, I will get the result as pass. Run it as JUnit test. See, everything is green out here, it is passing. Fine. Now if suppose I change my expected title to T2, and again if I run this test as a JUnit test, see, I get the red mark over here. This signifies that the test has failed, and this is the failure trace. If you read the failure trace properly, you will see that comparison failure expected was T2, but I was getting T1. Fine. So this is what assertions they do in JUnit. Now how do I compare expected and actual values in TestNG? If I go to TestNG and I write over here actual and expected. Again in TestNG as well we have the same class called assert. Okay, you have got assert dot, same kind of functions will come up in TestNG as well, right? But the only thing is that in TestNG you have to give the actual value first and the expected value after that. It's a little opposite. In JUnit we were giving the expected and actual, in TestNG we are giving actual and expected, and if I run this test as a TestNG test, this will run as a TestNG test. I'll get total runs 1, failures 1, skips 0. If you look at the output, you will get an error over here in the results of running test. Expected T2 but was getting T1. So it's almost same JUnit TestNG. But if I refresh my project now, I will have the latest reports in the test output. The old reports are lost and the new reports, they are generated. Okay, TestNG reports. And if I open the report index.html in a browser, you will see that you will have a failure coming up over here. The red sign signifies a failure, right? So you got my point, right? Things which these frameworks have to do is same. They help you to create an environment in which you can implement your test cases, run them in batch and all everything. So what I will take is I am planning to take TestNG in this complete course. Okay, because you know TestNG is the next thing in the market. All the companies are going with TestNG and all everything. So I am planning with TestNG because most of the people, they actually want TestNG. But in case you want to do the same thing with JUnit, it is one or the same thing. It's not a big deal. There will not be a big difference in it. Okay. So we'll go with TestNG, but you can actually implement JUnit as well. You yourself saw that there is practically both of them have got assertions as well. Assertions are there. Now there are some differences as well. If you want to parameterize data, the way you parameterize in JUnit is slightly different than in TestNG, but the overall procedure is same, right? So it's not a big deal that if you learn TestNG you cannot learn JUnit, or if you learn JUnit then to learn TestNG you'll have to put huge amount of effort again. No, it's not like that. Okay. So now what we'll do is